EduTech.
The way I was
Hi,
rushing.
everybody. Hi, everyone. Good evening to you all from Berlin, Germany. Today, we are having the first series of the Sadly podcast where we're going to be talking about, finance and wealth building in Germany. Today, I have here with me my friend and business partner, Amalola, who's going to introduce herself shortly. The key focus today is how can you automate wealth building in Germany? And when I say how can you automate wealth building in Germany, it's more like how do you go from arrival to stability and really establishing yourself fully in Germany. Why is this important? Um, you would find out that a lot of foreigners struggle for years after living in Germany. And the question is, how did they miss the initial step? So I genuinely believe that what we'll be talking about today is relevant to both people who are just coming to Germany or other parts of Europe and those who have been living here for a while now. So essentially, we will be sharing both our experience and also what we've learned when it comes to how you just become financially stable in Germany and what practices you should use. Before I proceed, I'd like my co-host Amalola to briefly introduce herself so that we get to know her and we will dive straight into the key points for today's conversation.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Omolola Jimmy. I've been living now in Berlin, Germany for close to 4 years now. I'm a legal practitioner by career, and but now I'm also training as a financial advisor at DVAG. And so I work closely with migrants and young professionals in Germany to help them understand how the financial system in Germany works and how they can build stability, step by step. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. In the course of our conversation, we will definitely also be sharing our experience, what we've seen. The first part that we would like to talk about is what we term the stability ladder. And why is this so? What I have come to understand is what you do as soon as you arrive at a particular location goes a long way to determine what your experience would be like in that particular place. Now, the first thing you have to understand is this: living in a country like Germany, there are structures and systems in place, and you need to understand how these things work so that you can leverage on the opportunities and the benefits that actually exist for you. So the first key point here is this: having a framework that works genuinely for you. Think about it this way: you have a plan for yourself. How would you go about that plan? Um, a key part of what we'll be focusing on today is essentially how you will first have the structure and then automate it such that you don't have to always be going back and doing the check-in every time. So um, you're working, you're a student, you're a parent, whatever it is that you are, you can still come up with the structure that fits your schedule, your profile. I see it at three levels. The first level is having optimal protection for yourself. Optimal protection in the sense that you have the right insurance coverage. Now, some insurance in Germany are compulsory, but others are highly recommended. The compulsory ones, there's no negotiation of those ones. The recommended ones, you have to ask yourself, what is your lifestyle like? And how should you adapt to those ones? So, the first point within the structure for me is optimal protection. And then the other one is proactive financial planning strategies or investment strategies. And here, it really depends on who you are and your earnings and the plans that you have for yourself. We won't go into details in that, but the next level is your proactiveness. Let me put it that way. And then the other aspect, which I like to also mention, is leveraging on subsidies and tax benefits that exist for you, which you have to know. So this for me is like how you first create the stability ladder to begin your wealth building journey in Germany. Maybe Lola, you can take then the second point, which is now how do you kind of say set up? want account structure to see that um, you automate certain processes that you're not doing these things manually.
Okay. Yeah, talking about account setup, the truth is that you cannot operate in Germany if the system cannot see you. And I believe this is the foundation of stability in Germany, right? So before budgeting, before saving, before investing, you must be visible, and you must be recognized by the system. And the truth is that Germany is a documentation based society. And so everything works through records, through registrations, through verified data. And so if these are missing or if they are incomplete, you are not considered fully operational here, no matter how hardworking you are. And so many migrants underestimate this step because it does not feel like progress to them, right? And it feels administrative, and it's in reality it determines access to almost everything else. So without proper documentation and a functioning bank account, salaries can be delayed or rejected.
Not even
Contracts
paid at all.
cannot be, yeah, that's true. Not
Yeah,
even, yeah, it can't even be paid at all.
yeah,
Contracts cannot be signed, insurance cannot function properly, even credit history cannot begin, and
yeah,
even government systems cannot be linked to you correctly. So it's this creates a dangerous situation where people are working inside the country but outside the
yeah.
system, right? And so when something goes wrong, like job loss, emergency or whatever, the system cannot recognize you. And so
It's true.
this point, talking about accounts plus documentation, account setup plus documentation, is trying to say that, it is important for you, in Germany to have the correct registrations. It's
Yeah,
important for you to have a functional bank account. It is important for you to ensure your names, your addresses, your details are consistent everywhere. And until this is stable, nothing can be secured in Germany. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I would say.
yeah. Maybe to add to that, um, you also have to think about your cash flows, right? So um, you have money coming in somehow because you definitely need some cash flows in Germany. Either
Yeah.
you're earning that from your
Yeah.
salary, it is from your blocked account
Hmm.
as a student, or your sponsor is giving you, or you getting some state benefits. Something has
Mm.
to be coming because the bills have to be paid, right? And
Mm.
now um, you have some bills which are fixed every month, like your
Yeah.
house rent that's fixed,
Hmm.
electricity bills. Certain bills are fixed every month; they don't change. And
Mm.
now you have some variable expenses like groceries, provisions, food, and all of that.
Yeah.
So one key thing which you can do for yourself here, still in line with planning yourself financially and building wealth, would be set up an account system, like we call it two account model. So you set it could be two, could be three,
Hmm.
but just multiple account system to ensure that A, the money that is coming in, that for those fixed expenses that they are going out from that main account. And then variable expenses like provisions, food, and the rest
Yeah.
that these are going out from another account. A typical setup would be like this. We're using two accounts. The main account is the salary account where your salary enters or your main source of income. And
Hmm.
from that same account, you're paying major bills,
Yeah.
house rent, electricity bills, and
Mm.
things like your investment or savings because you're doing this every month. And
Mm.
then you make a standing order to another account which all your variable expenses are going out from. So this definitely is something that you have to set up and know that every month you're not always having to check these things. And it's
Yeah.
definitely a good way to budget yourself because if you don't, then you may overspend. So you might be spending more than you're earning. And that's really where a lot of people get into trouble. And I think this leads me to the next point, which is um, yeah, paying bills that you don't use. I'm going to name some few examples and maybe Lola, you could also help me here.
Yeah.
Um, how many people do you know that have some subscriptions that they don't use, like gym subscription or some streaming subscription? Have you seen or know some people that have some subscriptions that they don't use but they're paying for it every month?
A lot. Like maybe like 80% of of the population
Right?
in Germany. Yeah.
So you just ask yourself, why? So this is definitely how you're just letting money leak. Um, I was I was making a video recently, and then I was talking about how, I mean, besides having some subscriptions which you don't use and you're essentially losing money, sometimes you get some deals that you did not even use that amount, consume up to that amount, but because you're not
Mm.
paying attention to it, you just pay it. I was sharing a story with myself where I got at the end of the year, you get your electricity bill,
Yeah.
calculate how much you spent the previous year, and if you used more, you would pay more, and if you use less, you will get credit, right?
Yeah.
And I got a bill for like 1,300 euros. I couldn't sleep that night. I was just looking. I was like, how can I pay throughout the year and at the end I
Hmm.
get 1,300? I couldn't have used that much of electricity. But
Yeah.
the thing is, I was not reading the letter, carefully. There's this part in the letter where you have a star, and then you
Mm.
go on that, you read more details. So it was until the next day I read that and I understood that that was an estimated calculation. So my
Mm.
point is this: sometimes you have a lot of some expenses which you're not using,
Yeah.
some bills you're paying but you did not read the document properly,
Mm.
um, or you're just always eating at grocery stores and just eating outside, whereas you can actually save yourself some money and you
Mm.
pay for things which um, pay for your food basically and cook them at home.
Yeah.
Um, these things you don't see them, but honestly, they add up. And
Mm.
maybe I don't know what you think about this, Lola, but um, there are also some people that they feel like they have to buy branded products. When they go to the supermarket, for example, if you go to River, you see the product which is so common and probably cheap, probably is cheaper than other brands, and then they have the branded ones. Some people just go for the branded product because they think it's of good quality, it tastes better, and all that. I don't know what you take on that, but I genuinely believe that these are ways that people are just, in my
Wasting
opinion,
money.
wasting money essentially.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 Michael, you're right. Like we shouldn't just be wasting money anyhow. Right now, there are a lot of things you can use your money for. You can instead of like wasting it, or instead of like being having what should I call it, like this particular preference. Maybe you have to buy like a designer something. I'm not saying it's
Right?
bad to use
Yeah, yeah,
designer stuff. It's not bad, but I mean you can use your money for something better to, like, this idea of emergency fund,
yeah,
buffers. That is something that, I really preach to people. Like, I really tell people that, like, an emergency fund is not wealth, it is peace. It's actually peace of mind.
yeah,
It's not, emergency fund is not about getting rich, it's about being forced, it's about not being forced into bad decisions under pressure. So it's like, why don't you think of converting those monies into, making it into emergency fund, because without an emergency fund, every unexpected bill becomes a crisis.
yeah,
People tend to rely on debt, overdrafts, and
yeah,
but then when you have like an emergency fund, for example, you gain time, you have options, you even gain dignity in decision making. So, and I feel that this is very important for migrants, because
yeah,
the support systems are limited. Relocation costs are real, and
yeah,
job transitions happen. So, this kind of emergency fund, it absorbs all these shocks that, life can bring just at any time, so that in case anything unexpected happens, you have an emergency fund, you have the money somewhere that you can use to stand back on your feet. So,
100%.
and so, once you put this in place, stress reduces,
Mm-hmm.
you gain your confidence, you have more confidence, and wealth building becomes realistic. So yeah, you're right. What I'm just trying to say in summary is that instead of just letting this money just slide like that. All those gym monies we are paying every month, and we are not even going to the gym. So all those subscriptions we are making that we are not even using it. Why don't you just convert it into buffers, emergency funds that that will work for you, especially when unforeseen circumstances happen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess this would be a good connection to the other point, which is protection, having optimal protection. I mentioned it at
Mm,
the beginning.
yeah.
What is your take? What do you how do you see this? How's the experience been like when you talk to people and tell them about the need for them to first protect themselves before they build wealth? How has it been like for you? How do people react to that?
Well, so far, when you tell people about this, specifically about this protection, I've spoken to some people and they end up flaring up. No, don't tell me that. I don't need this insurance. I don't need to protect this. I don't even have money. Why should I protect myself against another? But the truth is that in Germany, risk is expensive and unprotected income is fragile.
Yeah,
And this is something that most migrants keep most times and they regret the most. Protection is not about fear, it is about acknowledging reality. Because Germany has strong legal enforcement, Germany has clear liability rules, Germany
yeah,
has high financial consequences. One accident, one claim, one interruption can wipe out, a lot.
yeah.
Germany has months of savings, Germany has years of progress.
Hmm.
So, protection means understanding that your ability to earn money is your greatest asset. And if that ability is disrupted, everything above collapses. So this particular protection is risk awareness, it's not about selling product or selling insurance. No, it's about risk awareness. It asks questions like, what happens if I cannot work temporarily? What are you
Yeah,
going to do? What are you going to fall back on? What happens if I cause damage accidentally? There is nothing like I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry this happened.
let's
You
settle
have
this.
to you have to own up to it. You have to pay for it. What happens if life interrupts my income? Like when protection is missing, what am I going to do? I think I can just say this story of myself. I think I've told you too about illegal insurance. If there is anything that I regretted in the past that I didn't do, was legal insurance. I learned in the hard way. I
Yeah,
had some issues in the past, and it was even something I did not foresee. I didn't cause trouble. I didn't break anybody's house. I just
good
had
job.
some like,
Yeah,
yeah, like I was just on my own and it just came. I had this employment issue and, for the fact that Germany has strong legal enforcement, I could, I could enforce, I could bring about some legal enforcement to
yeah,
be able to have my rights, in that situation that I found myself because I legally I was entitled to some benefits, but then because I could not I didn't have legal insurance, I couldn't sustain myself, getting a lawyer because the first fee the lawyer charged me, as in my eyes became clear.
exactly. And
my eyes my eyes became clear and I couldn't sustain it because
yeah,
you have to pay for their service. It's none of their business. They will
services
do their
charge.
work. Yeah. So he
Exactly.
sympathized with me, but then he's like, I'm so sorry. You have to pay. You should get a legal insurance. And that was it. That was how I had to give up on that case. That was how I lost. That was how I lost, monies, lots of, euros because I didn't have legal insurance. So I tell people, my dear, get legal insurance. There are different kind of insurances, liability, private liability, a lot. Get it because don't wait until you have to. You will not start regretting that. Why didn't I get this on time? Yeah, yeah. So with this form of protection, you feel safer. You even have more peace because you know that if anything happens today, you are protected. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I guess the bottom line is really simple. Ask yourself, most wealthy people that you know, How will they function? The house of a wealthy man gets on
Mm-hmm.
fire. He doesn't
Yeah.
sweat it. He knows it's fully
Mm-hmm.
covered. What if his business crumbles? He knows he
Mm.
has some key insurances to protect him. So, again, if you want to build wealth, you need to also be thinking like the wealthy people. So, I don't blame people who don't understand it for whatever reason, or who wouldn't accept it, or who don't consider it. I guess it's not there in the mindset. So, the idea is this: before you can build wealth, you need to protect, yourself. You need to
Mm-hmm.
protect what you have, because you can't have a plan when you when you're not covered for unforeseen circumstances, unforeseen
Yeah.
situations. Like you mentioned, it's about the reality, just really facing the reality. And if you're really telling yourself the truth, then you know that there are lots of things that are outside of your control. And this is the
Mm.
part that I think a lot of foreigners underestimate. And I think if you're watching this, if you're listening to this right now, I'm sure you would have had one or more cases where you know that, hey, you had to pay from your pocket. But if you have done things right, you probably will be doing it. And the idea is, if you have structured yourself, have set aside a certain amount of money which you are using for your wealth building strategy, when something happens, an unforeseen situation, and you have optimal coverage, it will not obstruct your original plan. And that's the
Yeah.
point here. Yeah,
Mm.
good. You already talked about emergency fund, which I really like, and especially given the fact that most of us here we have to support our families back home, our friends, wherever. Um, in as much as we will still budget to say, okay, every month I'm going to send X amount of money to my parents, to my siblings, you need to set a hard cap to that. Otherwise, the truth is, if you don't have a plan, then you cannot really look forward to anything.
Yeah.
So keep in mind that the emergency fund is first and foremost for you, but also by extension, in real crisis situation, to your extended family or your immediate family, this also becomes handy. So um, I think for most of us, it's customary that we send supports back home, but that should
Very
also be,
important.
you know, that should all be planned, and you set
Mm.
a cap to it. Um, so I guess for me, just really coming slowly to the end, what I really would say when it comes to how you go from arrival to stability and building wealth in Germany, I really feel like the first step is to have a plan. What are your wishes and goals? Sometimes it might not be very obvious to you, it's not clear, but then ask yourself what kind of life you wish to have in the next, in the near future, right? And you may not know everything. So that's where the need to talk to someone who can help you in that aspect comes in. And as you would find that from my profile and Lola's, we have been working in the migration space, study, work abroad, entrepreneurship, people who are living in Germany, how to help them make sense out of their life. And here we are also topping it up with wealth building strategy, wealth building advisory services. If you don't know it, you have to associate yourself with people who know it.
Yeah.
So Lola, for me, I will wrap up saying people have to be intentional about this. You can't just
Mm.
wish for it and not take action. Be intentional about it. And I had an experience recently with a client whom, after we did the setup for him,
Mm.
the next meeting he came and he said, "Hey, I feel really satisfied now because I feel I have peace of mind. Now I can focus on learning German. Now I can focus on my driving license application, my driving
Mm.
license training, and a couple of other stuff." Why? Because he knows that his wealth building strategy is now on autopilot. All he has to do is just focus on work and every other thing which he wants to do, and not messing around every time changing stuff. And I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael. Yeah, yeah. I really agree with you. Yeah, I'm just going to say my final words too before we leave, and before we close. I want you to reflect on something. If you are listening, if you are watching, I really want you to reflect on something that, if financial stability has felt difficult or overwhelming or slow for you in Germany, then it does not mean that you are failing, right? It usually means that you were never shown how the system actually works. So, today is not about pressure or perfection. It is about clarity. Clarity that stability comes from structure. Clarity that every point we've raised today, it matters a lot. The clarity that small consistent steps are enough. So,
Yeah.
this is just to encourage you that you are not behind. You are simply building in the correct order now. And once you do that, things begin to feel lighter. Decisions become like clearer and calmer, and progress becomes visible. And stability is not a feeling you wait for, it is a structure that you build. And so that is why we are here. We are here to help migrants to have a clearer picture of how they can have financial stability here in Germany and be more settled. So you can always reach out to us. We are just one call, one contact, one email,
But
everything away from you. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, guys, honestly, take your life seriously. That's all I can say to you. Really, take your life seriously. Think like the think. I mean, especially if wealth creation in Germany, wealth building in Germany is something important for you, then take it seriously. Be intentional about it, and don't just wish, but expose yourself to all the different ways that you can be informed. That's the key thing. Get informed, be intentional, and begin to build the structure. And Germany really rewards people who have a structure and they are patient. Sometimes we feel frustrated with the German system because it is relatively too slow for us. But at the end of the day, it's kind of stable. And the question you have to ask yourself is, what do you prefer? You know, fast and not stable, or relatively slow and stable? I was telling some friends recently that what I really like about Germany, even as much as there are lots of challenges, is the fact that you can, to a large extent, predict your future here. I say
Hmm.
this with my chest.
Yeah.
Yes, you can predict your future here. Yes, there are lots of companies that we see challenges, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, you can still predict your future to a large extent. If there's any place in the world that you can really predict the outcome or what you can expect, is Germany, because you know what you're going to face and you also know how to go about it. And the only thing you have to do is set up a structure, be intentional, and be
Yeah.
consistent. That's the whole point about the automation, because the automation would help you do this. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. We forgot to mention that this event is brought to you by Settling. But anyways, you've been seeing Settling all over. So check out the platform that we are creating. We're creating a community that brings people together to inform them to help become the best version of themselves in their new locations. So, and thank you so much, Bella, for joining me on this show. Um, yes, I wish everyone a nice evening, a nice rest of their day. And any final words from you, Lola, before we wrap up?
Final words would be, we are always here for you. If you need more clarity, wealth building strategies, everything, please always reach out to us. We are one call away, like I said. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, guys. Then I wish you all a nice evening, morning, wherever you're watching this from. Please share the video, tag someone who needs to see it, and we see you around latest in 3 weeks' time. Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.